the worst thing is that I saw the key that she picked in there because it was a very regal looking key. Like it wasn't super extravagant, but it was very like elegant. It was like a nice looking one. And I saw it in there and I was like, yeah, it's probably not that one. And I went and picked other ones. So to see her pick that one, that moment lives rent free in my brain every single day. I've been thinking about it every single day for the last 10 months.
How you saw the $4.5 million key.
Yep, and then chose not to pick it. And it's so funny because that was the only time I ever went into a game with strategy. Like, and I ended up eating it. Yeah, so it just goes to show, just wing it, no need for strategy.
Hello, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Just in Time for Storytime. I'm your host, Justin Stephen Ford, author of the diverse picture book, I See Me. And as you know at this point, I got the opportunity to be a cast member, a player, 154, on Netflix #1 show right now, Squid Game, The Challenge. Normally the channel was all about diversity, positivity, inspiring people, inspiring stories, and that doesn't change today because my guest is one of the most anticipated, in my head, my friend, and I'm going to stop talking. You're just in time for story time. Let's bring him up. Please welcome to the show, my guy, Phill.
Hello.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Dude, I'm straight chilling. I'm having a blast. I'm riding this wave. I'm having a good time.
Bro, so your life has changed, I imagine, overnight.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been? I mean, you literally just came off Jimmy Fallon, Good Morning America. Now you're on the Just in Time for Storytime show. Like
This is the peak right here.
Right. Yeah, right. How are you feeling? Has the excitement worn off yet? Are you still like, this is crazy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely coming down. Last week was like the big finale premiere event, was like the Fallon interview, the Good Morning America stuff, like back to back interviews. So like last week was definitely like the peak of it all. So I'm kind of coming down a little bit this week, but I'm honestly like, as the days go by, I'm getting more and more excited about the future and what this show could mean for me and for the rest of my life.
I'm excited. So we're going to talk about it. Are you ready to have this conversation is a little different because I was player 154. You were player 451. We were in this crazy thing together. I'm going to ask you some questions that most people will not be asking you today. Okay. Okay. So before we start, we know who you are, but tell the people a little bit more about yourself. Who is Phill, player 451?
So my name is Phill. I was originally born in São Paulo, Brazil. My mom is Brazilian. My dad's American. I spent most of my life living in New Jersey. That's kind of where I grew up. And then for the past 5 years, I've been moving back and forth between New Jersey and Hawaii to be a scuba diving instructor. And that's where I was when I got the call for the show.
Phill, you look like I would trust you underwater. Like I would trust you with my life. Like,
thank you. That was a big part of my job.
Saving people. No, that's so awesome. So scuba diving instructor, let's talk about Squid Games now. So were you a fan of the actual show?
So I had actually never seen the original show when I applied. I was just kind of scrolling through my feed. Like I had done some like acting stuff before. Like my claim to fame before this was I was a CSU technician #2 on an episode of Hawaii Five-0. So I'd always been interested in the sphere. I'd taken a bunch of acting classes, but never really was able to move forward with it because I was just, struggling to put food on the table and stuff like that. Just focused on having a full-time job. And so I've been following some casting pages and then I saw, this game come up and then I was like, it would be so funny. And here we are. And then they didn't confirm me until 3 days before I flew out to shoot. Okay. I applied back in like August and then I never heard back. So I just assumed that I didn't get it. I was like, okay, whatever, no big deal. And then they called me around Christmas time and they were like, hey, just wondering, like, are you still interested? And then I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, but I have 2 jobs. You guys got to let me know, like, so I can like plan or whatever. And they were like, oh yeah, we'll let you know. And then they didn't. And then I actually never got an email officially confirming me for the show. All I got was my flight information. And
really?
I was like, I guess that means I made it. And then that was 3 days before I flew out.
Oh, so you were like one of the final picks. So I auditioned, I like the second round. So maybe that was like September. And then I didn't hear back until like December. But I had like, you're in. I got a phone call and all that stuff. Yeah.
I had none of that.
I guess it didn't matter. You made it.
Guess, yeah. And I mean, so I got the call 3 days before, and I was like, I should probably watch the original show. And like, I had heard of it, like I'd seen like some clips and stuff, but I'm just not really like a big like drama guy, like blood, gore, like stuff like that. It's just like a little too intense for me, so I wouldn't like naturally have watched it, I don't think. But then I did watch it, and I was like, oh wow, this is like, myself. Yeah, no, literally.
You're like, are we gonna die?
Yeah. I was like, oh geez, like I don't know how they're gonna pull this off. Like,
and we're going to talk about that. I think that probably like worked in your favor in the game, maybe not knowing so much or maybe not being so strategic, because I feel like you were just genuinely yourself in the game and just genuinely a nice guy. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. Okay, so you find out you're on the show, you fly to London. A lot of people don't know we actually quarantined a little bit in London. We were in these hotels, security guards on every floor. We couldn't talk to each other. How was that? We had to quarantine for maybe a week. How was that for you?
Well, I traveled for 32 hours to get from Hawaii to London. Like from the moment I left my apartment to the moment I walked into my hotel room, it was 32 hours of traveling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which was like crazy. And so I was like, first of all, just like adjusting to the time zone because it's a 10-hour time difference. And so it took me a really long time to get used to that. Even like the first literal half of the game, I'm like so sleepy. I'm like so like whatever, because I'm still getting used to it. But for me, it was honestly exciting because like, oh my God, like I have a few days off and like no one's gonna bother me. Like I'm gonna like chill, like just get to like, sleep all day, like watch TV, like whatever. So that was honestly like the best part.
He said, I got to do nothing. It was amazing. Now, as we're in that hotel, that's like the beginning of quarantine. Were you doing any game planning? Like, did you like prepare for anything?
Nah, dude, it was straight vibes. I was like, at this point, like I might as well just wing it. And like realistically too, like I really thought that like I was probably gonna get out in red light, green light, or like one of like the early games, because like statistically, like the probability of that happening is so much higher. And so I was like, I don't need to worry. Like, it'll be fine. We know the first game's going to be red light, green light. Like, I'll just deal with that and then go from there.
Right. Okay, so in the hotel, you didn't plan for anything. You were just enjoying the time off, adjusting to time. There comes a time we have to turn in our cell phones, turn in everything. You get your number, 451. We're on a bus. I think the next morning in the was it cold out there, Phil?
I was cold from the second I stepped foot in that godforsaken country until the moment I left. Like I was miserable the entire time because I already have like tropical blood. Like that's why I moved to Hawaii. Like, for the Northeast winter in like 5 years. And I'm already coming from Hawaii where it's like perfect and beautiful and sunny and warm every single day. And so I felt like I was already at a disadvantage. And then they put us in this like massive hangar in the middle of nowhere, England in like January. And I'm like freezing my nards off. Like,
not your nards. So hold up. So we get on this bus, right? We're in the middle. It's wild that we even like did this. So I was like, what if this is actual like Squid Games? This would be a great way to actually kill us. For one second,
I know. And at that point, we had signed our lives away. So they literally
signed our lives away, right? So we get to this huge airplane hangar, y'all, and like we don't know what's going on. We get off the bus. It's freezing. They put like these packs on us. They don't tell you anything. Come to find out, that's the thing that explodes when you get eliminated.
Yep.
There's waiting around. There's heaters. Everybody's trying to huddle around a heater. And then they line us up in 4 lines. And for me, that was the first time we really saw like 456 people in one place.
Yeah.
Which was wild. We line up. We walk through the doors. Mind you, we don't know what's happening. It's red light, green light. How are you feeling in that moment?
I mean, at this point, I'm like, wow. Like, I'm shocked at just like the sheer production value of the whole set. Like, they had like LED lights, like every square foot. Like, they had like the motion sensors on us. Like, they had like all this stuff, like a ton of cast, a ton of crew. And so at this point, I'm like, wow, like this is gonna be huge. Like, they're really putting their whole Netflix OC into this thing. Like, I'm excited to be a part of it.
They did. So we walk in there. At this point, I'm stressed out. Like, my anxiety is on 10. this point. I think there's a clip of me like pacing back and forth in the beginning. Now you walk in, they warm us up a little bit, and then attention players. This is the game.
Mm-hmm.
What was your strategy for the game once it started?
So I got kind of screwed a little bit because I was like in the back of like the whole group. And so I didn't even cross the like starting line until like the second like round or whatever. So I already felt like I was at a disadvantage. And I was like, nah, dang it. Maybe I should have like been in the front or whatever. But I didn't realize like how quickly the doll would be singing. And so the first one, I actually caught myself with both my hands up like this with all my weight on one foot. And I was like, oh my God, am I really about to go out in the first round? Like, this is going to be so embarrassing.
Over the line yet? Like,
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my God, before I even hit the starting line, I'm already going to be out. Like, it was crazy.
So we have to address it really quick. There are rumors, about the whole red light, green light thing, and people are saying it was inhumane or whatnot. I personally feel like everything was fair. I do feel like it was cold. Now, it was very cold. I do feel like we were fighting for $4.5 million. So I also don't think it was supposed to be easy. But what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, at any point, we could have left. Like, that was always an option. There was never a point where they were like, no, like, you have to stay, whatever. And so in a way, like, I do feel like it was kind of fair. Like, was I expecting to be playing this game for 7 hours and having to hold that position for 30 minutes at a time? Absolutely not. Would I do it again? Absolutely not. But I think it really showed just like the strength, like the physical and mental strength of everybody that made it through. Just being able to like withstand and just like survive that entire thing. And I obviously like I do feel really bad for like the people that like weren't really feeling well after and like all that kind of stuff. And I definitely feel like they're super valid in their experience. Yeah. But for me it was like I wasn't even thinking about all that. I was just like in like survival mode, So like it's just like So that's where my mind.
When you say survival, because I remember I had to pee before it started. That went away. Like,
no, I'm so full of pee all the time. Like I have to pee literally all the time. And I don't know how I lasted 7 hours, like not being able to do that. Like,
I guess you call it pee that I love. Like, I'm so full of pee. So wait, hold up. So that happened. On TV, they make it look like it's 10 minutes, red light, green light. And you kind of touched on it. And we have to talk about this because I was playing red light, green light for almost 8 hours. Mm-hmm. Each time we paused, we held positions for up to 20, 30, 40 minutes at a time.
Yep.
That did happen.
Yeah, so that was real. That was brutal. That was easily the most physically and mentally challenging thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I've had surgery on my butthole. So like it was tough. Like
we also going to talk about that. Like so a little bit of backstory for me is right before I came into the competition, I had actually come out to my family openly or whatnot. And unfortunately, I respect my parents, love my family. And unfortunately, we can't see eye to eye on that. And I lost about 90% of the relationships, maybe a couple months before we went into the show.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. But it's okay because I had to choose myself for the first time. And so walking into red light, green light, I counted myself out the way I had done maybe a lot of my life. Yeah. But after making it through red light, green light, in these ridiculous conditions, holding positions for 30 minutes, freezing temperatures, I proved to myself that I could do anything. Yeah. Did you have any lesson that you learned through red light, green light?
Yeah, I mean, I really just think that it showed how much that I'm able to endure, like physically and mentally. Like I'm a survivor, like I'm there, like I'm chilling as long as I can just like stay calm and just like keep a level head and whatever, like I can get through anything.
I love it. So we make it through red light, green light. You must have been on the left side. I was on the far right side.
Yeah, I was like in the middle on the left.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was on the far right side, kissing the wall like the whole time. So we make it through red light, green light. Some stuff happens. We end up going into the dorms. Walking into the dorm for the first time, how was that for you?
I mean, that was crazy. It was exactly like in the original show, and just like the again, like the production value of it all, like looking at all those beds and thinking like, oh my God, like there's a bed for every person here. Like, like just like, and seeing all the cameras too. Like there was like high-end cameras on like every corner of every bedpost. And I'm just like, they must have spent millions just on this one room.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yeah.
crazy.
And that was just one room. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's not like 1995 where people are walking around with cameras on their like shoulders. It's like the little like security cameras that you see in stores, but everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, I know people say, like, how could you say that you're on TV? You get so comfortable. Like, did you ever forget the cameras were there?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been like worried about like being anything but myself. Like I'm like in my day-to-day life, like I'm a very open book. Like I'm not scared to talk about anything. I don't have any secrets, like stuff like that. So for me, it really just felt natural. Like it didn't feel like I had to like hold back anything or like change anything about my personality.
Okay. Love that. Love that. And we see that. I think we see that definitely shine through. Shine through. I love it. Shine through. So in the dorms, you have what, 190 people, I think, there walking around. We're sleeping together with people. We're showering together with people.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the condoms for a second?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I never say no to a good time. You know what I mean? And like going in, I was even thinking like, oh, like maybe like who knows? But I think the more the game went on and like the dirtier and stinkier the situation became, that was kind of like the last thing on my mind. So and like and everybody like the like pajama, like the tracksuits and stuff, like wasn't really doing it for me, you know. So like, you know, I have needs, but like I was like, you know what, I'll just wait till I get home.
I love you, Phil. I think I might have a crush. No, so what happened was the guys, they gave us underwear, they gave us our tracksuits, and they gave us condoms.
Yeah.
Because it's reality. And right. Because it's reality television. Because why not condoms? And basically everyone's lips were so chapped. People start using the lube from the condoms on their lips, which was wild. I remember waking up and there's just like 3 condoms next to my bed. And I'm like, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is wild. So we're in the dorms. Everyone's just trying to acclimate. There's no television, no sense of reality, no time. All we have is each other, right? Did your gameplay start in that moment where you like, okay, I need to like make alliances, I need to make friends? Was that a thing?
There were very few moments for me in the game where I was like, I need to be like strategic about this. I really, for the most part, was just vibing. I was just there to make friends, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'm grateful to have made it this far. You know, if the next game I go out, no worries. Like, I'm at peace with it. And so my instincts, like, I tell people like, like whenever you're in like a grocery store in your hometown and you like see somebody that you might know, but you're like not really sure and you're like kind of nervous or whatever, like I'm the person that you're scared to see because I love talking. I love making friends. I love reconnecting. Exactly. Like, and so to me, like I was in my element. Like I'm surrounded by people with fresh stories, like, you know, fresh perspectives on everything. And so just like getting to talk to everyone and getting to know everyone was honestly for me the best part of the whole thing.
Let me say something about that. So one thing again is everyone's in the same tracksuit. So it was like the social experiment times 10, because the beautiful thing is you don't know what people do. You don't know anyone's background. We're all stripped down. We all just went through this crazy experience that was red light, green light. And the beautiful thing is you watch shows like Love is Blind or whatever, and you're like, how do these people form these connections so fast? And I think the beautiful thing for me was the fact when you leave people just to be people open up. I think people are innately good people. And I got closer to people in 3 days than I did my entire life. Did you have some sense of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how often do you get unlimited 24-hour time with 456 people, you know, like, and everyone's there for the same reason or for similar reasons. And so getting to hear everyone's stories, like getting to like hang out with everybody, just like for me, like, yeah, like felt so natural. And like, it was like, I mean, it's like that's the only thing you have to do is talk to each other and hear each other's stories. Like there's no cell phones, no outside interaction. So the only thing that you have to like anchor you into this reality is each other and the connections that you make.
And I think that's something I took outside of the game, is like having the people around you anchor you in life. Like it was a whole moment. So that was a thing. Side but
I mean, that for me, that was the best part easily.
Yeah, I agree. So we're in the dorms, you know, we see the surprise elimination that was 200. And then we're going back into the white room, right? For the first time, I think we do the stairs a little bit. We walk into the white room for the first time. We are thinking, we don't know what it's going to be because in the show, the white room leads to like Glass Bridge or Tug of War or something. So we didn't know what was going on. And then we find out it's cookies, Dalgona. Which cookie did you have?
So I had the star because I'm a little star.
The star had the star.
Mhm.
And I clearly, you probably did not practice ahead of time or anything like that.
Nope. Nope.
We go into it. Did you have how was the cookie licking and how was all of that?
So I personally am really grossed out by like saliva and like stuff like that. And so to have to like to spit into the cookie, like I almost gagged. Like it was like, and then there was a dude behind me, like in like the 10 minutes or whatever, like before the game actually started. Like he like some dude is like laying down behind me and he was like like getting like all his juices flowing. And I was literally like, I'm gonna throw up. Like I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, rest in pieces that dude. But yeah. So that was gross. But I actually got super duper lucky. So like when they had us like, like pick our like little tins or whatever, like the one I grabbed when I opened it up, the like impression of the star was already like kind of halfway like done basically. And so I was like, oh my God, like thank you. Like this is perfect. And so I just spat a little bit into it, like did the thing, like kind of took my time too. And then I made it like in the last like couple minutes. But I got super lucky with that.
That's awesome because I did not.
Sorry.
So I got the triangle, bro. And when I tell you my triangle like was barely pressed, they must have just set the like print, like the thing right on top. I looked at the light, there was no light shining through. It was a little burnt. My cookie it wasn't meant for me. And so I died. That's where I'm gone. But congratulations.
Thank you. I think honestly the star was probably I think some people thought that the triangle might have been the easiest one, but I think that the star might have even been a little bit easier because there wasn't so much pressure on each of like the points of the triangle. Because like on the triangle, like you only have the three things to hold all the whole cookie. So the star was kind of like a little bit more spread out. So I think that kind of helped too.
Yeah.
And actually, so it was me, Mai, and Sam were all in star.
Really?
Yeah.
Good to know. Good, a little foreshadowing there. Yeah. Triangle actually took out more people than Star and way more people than Circle. So it was like right behind Umbrella. So
yeah.
So you passed Algana, you go back into the dorms. Now that's the first time where like some of the relationships you have formed, people are not coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, that was tough. And I mean, I had met a couple of people like in when we lined up to do red light, green light, I had like lined up with like my like number neighbors and stuff. And so we had started chatting. So I'd like started to get to know them. And then I saw one of them, Kevin, my boy Kevin from Chicago, he's a real one, go down because he like they weren't able to like come to an agreement about what shapes they wanted. And that sucked. Yeah. Like in that moment, I was like, oh, like I really liked him, like, and I'm not gonna get to see him anymore. So that was like kind of like the first like little like reality check of like, oh, like people are like gone, like.
Yeah. And when people die in the game, you don't see them again. Like it's like we go in a game together and we go to bed at night, and like your like bunk mate is gone.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't know each other's social medias. We don't know if we're going to be able to find them outside of the world. So
yeah. And I mean, not so much in like the earlier games, but like definitely more towards the end, like it like really felt like a death because like at that point, like they were like your relationships with these people are the only things that were like anchoring you to the reality of the show. And so to have them just like disappear like out of nowhere, like it really felt like a death. And so that kind of messed with me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And we're gonna talk about that in a minute. So that happens. You get back to the dorms. There's less beds. They take beds out. Everyone's happy. And then some time goes by, right? And so you lose sense of time. Everyone's just kind of floating. You're resting.
I took so many naps.
Phil's resting. And then they bring out a telephone. Now, were you involved in the telephone situation at all? Or were you like, I'm not touching that?
I was for like 2 seconds because I saw them like bring it out. They put it down. I didn't see them like hook it up to anything. And then everybody was like crowding around, literally like monkeys, like, ooh, like new objects, like, and so then I went up and I was like, it'd be funny if I like tried to call my parents right now. So I picked it up. I picked up the phone and I dialed my home phone number and then nothing happened. And I was like, whatever, I guess it's not connected.
Okay.
And then went somewhere else. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But if it like had rung, I don't know that I would have picked it up.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm wondering. Yeah, because it really seemed like the people that like volunteered to do everything first, like almost always either got eliminated or put in an impossible situation. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I don't think I need that right now.
I don't want to target on my back and I'm glad you said that because it really is about like balancing the social game. Like you kind of want to be known, but not known enough. I know someone got sent home for, I think Amber got sent home because the person said, I've never talked to you before.
Yeah.
You have like Lorenzo's and Dashes who are bigger personalities, and then that can put a target on your back. So I think you did a really good job of just kind of like
Yeah.
coasting, laying low.
Yeah, I was kind of vibing, and I was talking to everybody too. Like there wasn't, I mean, I did have like my little like friend group or whatever,
Yeah.
but like we weren't like an alliance or anything like
Gotcha.
that. We were just genuine friends. Like we had a genuine connection, and then, but I would still go around and talk to everybody else.
Gotcha. You were enjoying the experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
I
Because what
love
else is there to do?
literally nothing. A talent show here and there, you
Yeah.
know. So you go back into the white room. Everyone's thinking, did you think it was going to be tug of war?
Yeah, I really did, and I knew that it wouldn't be exactly like it was in the original show because,
Yeah.
well, obviously, like we weren't gonna fall and die.
Yes.
But I knew that there was like no way that they could do it like safely, and so I was wondering like, oh, like maybe they'll have us both pulling like different ropes, and then whoever has like the bigger like tug strength, like maybe something like that.
Yeah.
And so like the strength aspect did like factor into a lot of the decision making for the individual lines that we were in.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were in a line. You all, editing guys, you guys don't see a lot of the stuff that like went on. I know alliances were like divided in there, all types of stuff.
It got pretty spicy. I'm not gonna lie.
It got really spicy from what
Yeah.
I've heard. So you go in. It's not tug of war. It's Warships.
Yep.
Now, I had never ever played Warships before. Were you a friend of Warships? A fan of Warships?
I had like an app on my phone for like a little bit, like in high school, I think, but like that's the only experience I had with it.
Okay, now who was your team captain?
It was Scott and Tyler. Scott was my homeboy because like the thing with like the line choosing too is like I was so they had like all like the 7 or 8 or whatever lines, and then they told us that 2 of the lines were going to have one less person because that's just how the math worked out. And
Sure.
so it was like basically assumed that those 2 lines like would have less like tugging power in tug of
Yeah.
war, and so automatically at a disadvantage. But they also said that if like any of the lines are not complete, then they will all be eliminated. And so that was like a really scary thought. And so I was originally in a line with a lot of people, more than 15 or more than however many that was the cap people. And then everybody just started bickering and fighting. And like I had a good spot, but like the energy was just so bad that I was like, you know what? Like I don't really want to be a part of this right now. So they cut this in the show, but I did something really dramatic. I stood up and I was like, I will go. And so and then I like went to like the line with less people or whatever, which is like a bunch of like skinny, like little dudes. And then my boy Scott was like the last one to come over and like complete our line. And so he really saved us in that moment, which is awesome.
Gotcha.
And then going in, like Scott was my boy, so we'd been talking, and he designs escape rooms in San Diego, and so he's like a puzzle guy, like a games guy or whatever. And so then when we found out that it was going to be like Warships, then I was like, we got the most stacked team. Like not only do we have less people, so we have an advantage, and also like this dude's going to carry us, like because I know that he's like all about this stuff.
Yeah.
I was excited. I felt good about it.
Okay. So I don't know if they showed much of like your like warship situation.
No, I was playing TJ's team.
You were playing TJ. So you all lost a few people.
Yeah, we did. It was right. Yeah, it was a slaughter. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, it was bad. I mean, Scott and Tyler were both of our captains, and they did a really good job. I just think that they got really unlucky, just like the way that the numbers drew. But that game, I mean, it was really tense. Like it was really like we were trying to stay quiet too because we didn't want like the other team to like hear where we were on the other side. I don't really know if that was a real thing. And then poor Dash was next to me in my boat, just having a total meltdown. And I was like trying to lead him through my like scuba diving because I was like, guys, just like breathe, circle breathing. Like,
in through your mouth, out through your nose.
Yeah, so that's what I spent the whole game doing. I was like trying to like
Dash down. Shout out to Dash. Check out my interview with him. We love you, Dash. He said, "You're fine." Dash is hilarious. My God.
So funny, yeah.
So Warships happens. You lose some people, but you float on through. Get it? Float on through. And you float on through. You're back in the dorms. Less beds there. What was the energy like after Warships? Because now I feel like it's really starting to get real.
Yeah, so it definitely started to become, I think, a little bit more competitive. Like personally, that was when I really started not super vibing with the game, because in Warships was when I lost my boy Scott and my girl Alex, and I had really grown close to them, like in those few days or whatever that we were in there, and so that was like the first like tough social loss that I felt. And and it was tough because like Scott, did his best to be our captain. Alex, I wanted to be in the boat with her, and she wouldn't let me. She was like, "No, like one of us has to make it. It'll make more sense if we're split up."
Yeah.
I was like, family sticks together. Haven't you seen Fast and the Furious? Like, like we got to do this together. But she wouldn't let me. And then she ended up, going down and then I cried and they cried. And it was like a whole thing.
Yeah.
And so that was like the first time in the game where I was like, oh man, like this like really sucks to like get so close to these people and then just have them get like friggin' deleted. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So that happens. Like you said, it's starting to get real. The weight of the game, people are really starting to, like, true colors are kind of starting to come out. Because when I was in the game, it was still very much love and light. I think everybody was just very excited. But as we see, people would do a lot of things for $4 million.
No, it's true. And I think some people's colors definitely started to show, but I really want to say, like, for the most part, like that original dorm vibe, like everybody just like chilling and being happy, like that carried through for literally the entire game, like all the way up until the end when it was just me and like I still felt that camaraderie. Like I still felt a lot of that.
Okay. That's good. Everybody was like, just what are we doing? Like, we're just so like bonded in this experience, and nobody will ever stand except the people that were there. So it's a very unique and beautiful experience in many ways. Okay. That happens. We have a couple tests in the dorm. We have a test. Was it the voting test first?
I truly don't remember what order everything happened in. They told me I should have kept the journal, and I was like, nah, I don't need to remember. Like it's fine.
Okay.
But
so
yeah,
the voting one was too much in the voting or the Jack in the Box situation. What were your roles in those games, or where were you when all of that was kind of going on?
So, I mean, I was just trying to stay out of it, to be honest. Like in the voting stuff, like I knew that I didn't want to be the first person because I was like, that's so much pressure. Like that could put a target on my back, whatever. Like I honestly like didn't have a specific person that I wanted to vote for in that situation because like I had gotten along with everybody that I had talked to so far. I don't think anybody like deserved the money any less than anyone else. And then Lorenzo goes and like does that whole thing, and then I'm like, okay, that's a good enough reason. So I did vote for him. But I, obviously like watching the show now and seeing his TikToks and stuff, like I understand like he is a really cool guy. Like maybe I don't know if he was just like, and in the moment I really just didn't know if he was like that or if he was just Italian or like what the deal was.
So I'm like, is this you or
exactly? But in the moment, like I had gotten close to Leanne because we're both from Jersey. Shout out Jersey. And so seeing him do that to her felt kind of mean and like mean spirited. And so I was like, you know what, like if I have to vote for anybody, like I guess I'll have to do that. And his name was already up there, so I presumed that he was already probably going down anyway. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I won't feel that bad. And I think he knew that too, which is probably why he like wanted to get his like little screen time and stuff.
When he walked up to Leanne, he's like, "What's your number?"
He's like, "Oh, I don't know if it's 303 or 303." I'm like,
he's like, "It's the same." Leanne is low key savage, and we love it. She's like, "It's the same."
Yeah, she's a real one. I love her.
Shout out to Leanne and Trey. Okay, so that all goes down. And then what happens next? Now I'm trying to remember. Is it?
Oh, that was a Jack in the Box.
Jack in the Box. Okay, so Jack in the Box happens. You had no involvement with that either, I imagine.
No, yeah. I mean, they asked for like a couple volunteers, and I was like, I've seen volunteers get burned in the past, and like, I don't know if I need to be a part of that. And so then they all go up, and of course, it's like a whole dramatic, tense thing. And I'm kind of like, I'm in the back, and I like put my hair over my number, and I'm just like kind of chilling, like not really like saying anything, not really doing anything, just kind of like stay out of it. Because I know at this point, like a lot of like the decisions that were made of like, oh, like who are you going to eliminate? A lot of it was based on like, oh, I just don't really know this person.
Right.
And I know like if I was in that situation, like I also wouldn't know who to pick. So I'd probably just like scan the room for numbers.
Random person.
Yeah, pick one at random. And so I was just like kind of chilling. Like,
let me just turn sideways.
Yeah, no, exactly. Just like, oh, like me. Yeah.
So that happens. You see Doc. Now, how did you feel about Dr. Rick going home and Steven going home?
So the thing is, like, I really didn't think that we were doing alliances. Like, from my perspective, like, I thought we were chilling. I thought everybody was
alliances.
Exactly. I was like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, like this person's in an alliance with this person and this person, and I'm like, what? I didn't know we were doing that. Like, should I be doing that? Like,
Phil was like, where was I?
I thought we were just vibing. So that was definitely like a turning point for me.
He's like, maybe I should start playing a game. So we walk into glass. You walk back into the white room, right?
Yeah.
And the little teddy bear behind you.
This dude. Yeah.
There you go. The little awesome blue guy behind you.
With the secret number on the inside.
Boom. There you go. Oh, is that the actual one from the show?
No, I got this in New York, but it does
nice.
have a little pocket to keep my secrets in. Maybe I'll put my weed
there
in.
There you go. So we get where we see the big claw. We're picking numbers for Glass Bridge. What number again did you have for Glass Bridge?
I got number 10, I think, but I was given number 7, I think, to hand out. And that was honestly the only moment in the entire game that I just legitimately panicked. Like my mind went blank. I like didn't know what to do. I like was just like so lost because like I couldn't do that. Like I couldn't give a low number to anybody in there. I didn't think anybody in there deserved it, like anything like that. Like I'd like gotten close to pretty much everyone. And so in that moment, like my mind just kind of went blank, and like I just like looked around and I saw Roland's shirt was open and I saw his number and I was like, okay, that number. And that's the only reason I made that decision. And I immediately regretted it. Like as soon as I said it, I was like, oh, I really shouldn't have done that, because Roland was such a cool guy. Like literally the funniest guy in the entire dorm, like super easy to get along with, like super cool guy, and like really fair, really gentle, really kind. And so I felt so bad. But then he ended up getting number 10, I think it was, or number 9 or something to give out. And he gave it to me because they were like similar. And I was like, you know what? Like that makes sense. I totally respect that. Like I feel like we're even now. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, you know,
I love you. It's a game.
Yeah, exactly.
We walk in a glass bridge, right? Now we got to talk about it a little bit because there is controversy that is glass bridge.
Yeah. Controversy there was.
And so did you all agree when you walked in Glass Bridge? Did you agree everybody take a turn? Was that a final agreement or not?
No. So, I mean, we had like discussed it before. Roland was the first one to bring it up. And I want to give him huge props, huge shout out to like really trying to make every single game like super like equal and egalitarian and stuff like that. So he was the one that was really pushing for it. And like we had talked about it kind of as a group, but like we weren't really. So there was like a couple hours, I think, in between the bear thing and sorry, I keep pointing the wrong side. The bear thing and the glass bridge. And we weren't supposed to talk to each other. Obviously we did. And so there was like mention of it, but we didn't really get like a chance to like really discuss it until we were like on the set, like on Glass Bridge. And I really want to like be clear, like at no
I don't do that. It does that randomly, but we like, click, and subscribe. I guess that's the
time. But at no point was there ever like a group like agreement, like, yes, we are going to do this. Like it was something that we discussed and we were like, okay, like whatever. But at no point did I expect anybody to like actually go through with the plan. Like I knew that I was going to, but like I wouldn't have faulted anyone else. Like even like Chad, who was behind me in line, like I told him, I was like, dude, and I could tell that he was like really hesitant, like he wasn't really sure like what to do. And I was like, listen, dude, like whatever choice you make, like I respect, like, you know, play this game for yourself. Like it's all good. Like everybody knows there's only going to be one winner. Like do what you think is right. I'm not going to be hurt, you know? And so then the drama ensues. And then TJ gets out, and then fucking like everybody else gets out. And then
everybody starts dropping, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then Trey goes up, and Trey, like they definitely like edited it in a way to make Ashley look worse than she actually was, because like at this point Ashley was super kind, super nice, super genuine and stuff. And I think that there was never like a formal agreement of like, yes, we are going to do this. And I think that scene where they show like Trey like kind of like looking back and looking at Ashley, I don't think that he's looking at Ashley. I really think he's looking at the rest of us to be like, hey, like what's the plan? Like what's going on? And like, yeah, like maybe Ashley could have jumped, you know, maybe Trey could have asked her to jump. Maybe somebody could have spoken up, you know, a lot of things could have happened. And like in real life, it really wasn't as clear cut as it seems on the show. And honestly, from my perspective, it really looks like Trey just kind of went AWOL, because he just started jumping. And then he was like, did you guys really think that I deserved like this number? Like, would you give my mom this number? And we were like, Trey, no, like, what are you talking about? Like,
I'm jumping.
Exactly. And then he lands it, and then he lands it again. And at this point, like I'm going crazy. I'm like, that's Jersey, mother. Like, you know, like that's my boy. And then unfortunately, you know, rest in pieces, he eats it, and then he falls through or whatever. And so I don't know, like in the moment, it definitely didn't feel as controversial as it seems in the edit. And I truly, I want to give Ashley like major props. Like first of all, like during this entire game, even if that was the case, even if that was exactly what happened, like I don't blame anyone for like playing the game for themselves. Like everybody knows there's only going to be one winner. It's winner takes all. You know, I don't blame anybody for playing the game for themselves. You know, it's what it was. And at no point did it ever really feel like it was like us versus each other. It was always like us versus the game, you know, and however you could spin it to do your best, like, you know, more power to you.
And you can see that camaraderie too. Like when people are genuinely crying, or, you know, when you see Mai run up and hit Chad, like that's real. Like we love each other. Like I say that. I think love happened. And shout out to Ashley, guys. This is just the game.
It's all just a game. And the thing is, like, we're not mad about it. Like, none of us are mad about it. So the fans definitely shouldn't be mad about it either. Like, she's been getting a lot of hate. Like, even like Jackie's been getting a lot of hate for giving TJ that number. And it's like, first of all, every single one of us would have given TJ number 1 because he was our leader in that moment. He brought that upon himself.
Yeah.
But like, just like that, there's no reason for the hate. Like, none of us are bitter about it. You know, it was just a game. Like, we had fun. Like, it's all good. And so the fans definitely don't need to take it that far.
Agreed. 1,000%. 1,000%. So it sounds like part of that plan worked, part of it didn't. It fell apart at some parts. Some people went AWOL, but you end up making it through Glass Bridge. Okay. Make it through Glass Bridge, come back into the dorm, less beds. Everybody's just kind of walking around. How was that feeling? You know, like now being back, now we're in the top, what, 40, 30 at that point?
I think it was like 12 or something.
Okay.
Like top, yeah, something like that. Or maybe it was top 20. Oh yeah, because I don't remember. Did Snake happen before or after that?
After that, I think.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, at that point, honestly, after Glass Bridge, I was like high key crushed because that's the game that I lost Jackie in. And Jackie and me, like, we were each other's rock in there. Like, we were each other's like homeboys. Like, we, you know, at that point, it felt like everything that I experienced, it was like a 50-50, like experiencing half. And so then losing her, I almost felt like I lost a part of myself. And so that was like easily the toughest loss of the entire game. So I was shaken. And at that point I was like, all right, like, let's just get it over with. Like, whatever. Like, I don't know how much more of this I can take, but you know, whatever, we're here.
I'm dumb. So then we see, I think you're back in the dorms. I think we see that's when they call it the manslaughter kind of happens. I think where a bunch, or we might be a little bit out of order here, but the manslaughter does happen where this might have happened before Glass Bridge, maybe.
I think so, actually, yeah, because I think there were more people during that, and that's
right, exactly. So I think the manslaughter happens where when the female alliance started to form. Where did you fall in that? So let's run that back really quick.
So I had seen all the girls hanging out and doing their little thing, and I was, you know, very supportive of them. I did feel like a little hurt that they didn't invite me over there because, like, I am gender fluid. I don't identify as either male or female. I kind of identify in the middle. And at this point, like, I had, you know, gotten closer to, I think, a lot of more of the girls than I had the guys. And so in that point, like, it did sting a little bit, like, not to be like invited into that. But I also, like, I understand because, like, them being together in that moment, like expressing their unity, expressing their, like, you know, teamwork and stuff like that, that comes from a place of like being passed over for opportunities or not considered to be strong or like adequate in like the game, like because of their appearance as women. And that's something that, like, I obviously, like, even though I'm gender fluid, like, I have carried a lot of like male privilege through my life just because that's how people see me. People that don't understand the gender spectrum, they look at me and they think, okay, that's a man, and then they treat me as a man. And, you know, unfortunately the way our society works is that men are treated better and given more opportunities. So I definitely, like, understand where they were coming from. And so I don't blame them for that at all. And I'm honestly really excited to see that they were kind of banding together and sort of doing this thing. And, like, what a perfect time to do it before, you know, this you know, the schoolyard dodgeball draft.
Now, who picked you?
So Jackie picked me.
Jackie. Okay. So Jackie was coming through. Yeah.
Dude, Jackie was a real one for sure. And the thing is, like, in the moment, like, I kind of didn't expect her to. I kind of expected her because, like, Amanda had already said her, like, whole speech about, like, oh, like, you know, us women have to stick together. And at that point I was like, you know what? Like, I respect it. Like, if this is how I go out, like, at least it's, you know, giving representation to people that, like, really deserve it and stuff like that. And so I wasn't, like, too bitter about it. But then Jackie got picked and I was like, that's my boy. Like, that's my dude, you know? And so, and so then I was like trying to keep it cool. And then I was, like, so incredibly grateful that Jackie did end up picking me. And I knew that she trusted me to do the right thing. And then she did whisper in my ear. She was like, please pick a woman. And in my brain, I was like, I would have picked a woman anyway, but like, like, no worries, I got you. And so, but in that moment, like, it was tough because I did obviously see, like, a lot of, like, other people that would have deserved that representation as well. Like, a lot of, like, you know, the Black people that were in the crowd, like the gay people that were in the crowd, stuff like that. And in that moment, like, my instinct is, like, I really wanted to pick Sam because, like, we had gotten really close at that point. Like, he was also, like, my homeboy. But I also, I realized that there was, like, a greater need for representation in that moment, which is why I ended up picking Ashley. And they kind of they cut a lot of it out, but I had a whole thing where I, like, made it seem like I was about to pick Sam, and then I went and picked Ashley. Like, I was like, oh, you know, this like person has been like my bunk buddy for a while. Like we've gotten really close or whatever, like really making it seem like, and like, I was like milking it too. I was like really making it seem like I was better exam.
You're enjoying this. You are enjoying this.
Yeah, no, I'm just having fun. And then it was so funny. And then I was like, and my choice is like Ashley or whatever. And then I heard like a collective, like, like a collective, like sigh, especially from Jackie.
The woman. That's great. So that happens. We see all that unfold. Then Glass Bridge happened. And then after that, then you guys are back in the dorms. And then we see that's when I think Dice happens kind of next.
Yeah, Dice was next because I think I don't think they expected so many people to make it through Glass Bridge. And so I think they needed to trim the numbers down a little bit.
Yeah. Now that had to be wild because you see the guards walk out with this rope, and I would have been like, that's the smallest tug of war. Now we're playing tug of war with the smallest rope ever.
Yeah, I mean, every time that we saw the guards come out, we knew it was going to be something silly. So I was like, all right, whatever. Like, let's let it happen. Let's see what it is.
So the dice game, we know the rules of the game. If it lands on 6, you're out. Mm-hmm. And then again, another plan comes out where everybody's falling on the sword. Was that a Roland idea again?
That was 100% a Roland idea. And I want to give him huge props for that. Like, just like that. And like, obviously, like, I think we were all inclined to do something like that, but just his like actual brains of like being able to like think of a strategy. Like I would have never thought of that. Like, just like thinking of like a really like equal, like egalitarian, like chance way to do it. And I think it was so fair.
Yeah, it was fair. Everyone falls on the sword we see except Mama Mai. Did you see that coming, or were you like, where is this coming from?
So I knew that since Glass Bridge, they were beefing a little bit. And I honestly, like, from my perspective, like, it really seemed like Trey went AWOL. And I really didn't understand, like, that Ashley may or may not have done what she did. And so at that point, like, I really didn't get their beef. And I was like, okay, like, I think I'm going to stay out of it. Like, I don't know if I want to, like, pick sides or anything like that. Like, whatever. Like, I'm sure they'll resolve it themselves. And so then she was like, I nominate Ashley. And I was like, what? But I mean, like, I understand where she's coming from. Like, obviously seeing the edit, having talked to her after the show, like, I understand like what her perspective was of the situation, how she was trying to make it fair. And like, technically it was fair because they ended up picking each other. So it kind of canceled out.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we see all of that. We see Chad, one of the fan favorites. I think everybody can agree. Chad goes home. And that was a hard one to see.
It was, yeah, because I just started getting to know him too, and he was already telling me about how he does like his bankruptcy like law stuff and how he does a lot of it pro bono, and I was like really inspired by his story and like how hard he works and stuff. So that was really tough. That was a tough loss for sure because I felt like we were really starting to get close. Like losing B also was tragic because she easily was like the most competent, smartest, like coolest person in the whole room. Yeah, and to see her go down on a dice roll, like after literally saying like, "Oh, I always roll 6s."
I only roll 6s.
Yeah. And then bam, she's like, that was tough. That was tough to watch. And Perna too. Perna was such a sweetheart. Like I never really got to get super close to him, but he was really sweet, really gentle, really kind. And so that's the thing, like with this game is like at this point, like even like before this, but definitely at this point, like nobody deserved the money less than anyone else. Everybody would have done good by it. Everybody deserved a shot at it. And so to see people go down in such a silly way, was tough. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So the dice game happens, and then that was what was the energy like after that? Because we see my makeup with Ashley. I know Chad facilitated that a little bit, but what is that like? Because now it's a handful.
Yeah, I mean the chances of winning are now actually within grasp. Like up until this point, it was like, oh, whatever. Like I'll probably get out soon anyway. Like it's no big deal. But now it's like, oh, like if I actually like try and like really put my nose to the to the pavement on this, like I could maybe make this work. And so I just was really excited to see what was left.
Okay. Now up to this point, you were kind of just having fun with it. Did your gameplay change at this point when it got closer, or were you still just like?
At no point, man. I was just vibing. I was there to have a good time because even though it was like 1 in 12, like that's still like a pretty low chance of making it. So like I wouldn't have been bummed to go out at any point. Like I mean, like I would have been bummed, but I wouldn't have been like like oh my god, So I was just kind of vibing and try to ride it out. And like the closer we got to the end too, the more I was like, I'm gonna get to see my bed soon. Like I'm gonna get to see my partner.
Yeah. And at this point, you had probably been there like almost 2 weeks.
Yeah. 2 weeks of like, not sleeping good, not eating good, like, super stressed out, like all this stuff. And I was like, I just can't wait for this to be over.
We didn't talk about this earlier. Did you love the food?
The food was atrocious. It was so bad. I hated every second of it. There was not a single, they had one meal.
Which one?
That was actually decent. And they like gave us like IKEA meatballs or something like at some point. And that, oh my God, was a godsend. That was
because they had like a little salt in it. And it
had like, just like the tiniest bit of salt. And it was like literally everything. I was living for it.
Listen, we got boiled chicken. It was like the boiled chicken was the worst for me.
Was easily one of the worst. And the porridge or the oatmeal in the morning was just, I was literally gagging by the end. I was like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, man. Like,
I want to go home. It's not worth it. I love how nothing else almost took you out like the food took you out.
Yeah, no, for real. That was rough.
So you guys walk back into the white room, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was like psychologically what a mastermind of a game. Like how simple, but how like intense. So this is an exclusive because Phil and I have not talked about this before. And I'm like about to be a fan in this moment because you sit down, not only do you guess once, you guess 2 times in the circle of trust. How did you do it?
So, I mean, it doesn't really show on camera, but I was bugging the whole time. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know who it was, like, whatever. And so Rose, I was pretty confident about because I know she was the only one that I hadn't gotten super close to. It was the same reason that Roland picked her, I think. Like, I think like we just like hadn't really had that interaction before, and like we weren't super close. And I think it would have made more sense for her to do it than anyone else because I knew like Sam probably wouldn't have done it. And then something that they didn't show in the edit was stuck her neck out for me twice in the game. She not only offered to take my jump for me on the glass bridge, but she also offered to roll my dice for me. And both times I was like, no, like, it's okay. Like, I got this. Like, I'll take the responsibility. But like, that really showed me that like, she really cared about me and was willing to put her own, elimination at risk to help me out. And so I knew that her putting it on my desk was probably unlikely. I knew it was unlikely for Sam to do it. And I had gotten pretty close to everybody else that was in there too. And so it just kind of felt like Rose was kind of the odd one out. And so I was like, all right, well, hope it's you. And then it was. And I was like, whoo, all right, glad that's over with.
Right, you thought.
Yeah.
And then they're like, Rose goes home. Are you just like, oh my God?
Yeah. No, I was genuinely sad, to see her go. And I was like, dang, Rose, like, and that sucked too, because now I was like, oh, well, now we're never going to get the opportunity to really, get to know each other and hang out and talk and stuff. So that was tough.
So you make it through the first heat and then you take your blindfold off again. Now, people are like, excuse me. Oh my God. Burping. People are like, maybe he heard footsteps. Maybe, he smelled someone or something like that. Because the guards are walking around. So where's their music playing? Could you not hear?
Yeah, so Netflix like really thought this through. Like there's no way. Like the blindfolds were super thick and like covering like our whole faces. Like I literally couldn't see anything. Okay. Then they were playing really loud music and they had the guards walking around so you couldn't hear anything. And there was
they were playing music.
Yeah, no, they were playing music, yeah, and it was really loud. And like, I mean, there was no smelling in there. Like there was no like, there was no sense. There was like a huge, massive room. It smelled of like, plastic and like polyester and like, like it wasn't like anything crazy. Right. And so yeah, and then I see the box on my desk again. I'm like, and I literally said they cut this, but I was like, are you kidding me? Like again with this? Like have I not been through enough? Like yeah, but I mean, my first instinct, and I did this when Rose put it on my desk too. Like my first instinct was to take my blindfold off like quickly, and then kind of look at everyone's eyes and see like whose eyes were adjusting to the light, like see if anybody was shifty, like because I knew that the immediate first few seconds was the most important, and so that's kind of why I'm like
smart. Okay, I would have never thought of that. Smart. Okay.
Yeah, and so then the second round, and they cut like so much. Like I did my whole thing, I did my whole routine. I did that twice, and I did that for everyone in the room too. And I went in a whole circle. I went to every single person, like, and I went silly. And the reason I did was not because I was confident, but because I was pretty sure I was about to get eliminated. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get my camera time. I'm going to have some fun with it. I'm going to be silly, and that was honestly the only thing behind it, because I wasn't super confident with either choice.
Really? Because it made you look confident and you were like, ew.
I know. And yeah. And then they cut to like, oh, like it's on my desk. And then it cuts to me pointing at Rose. And I'm like, like it was like 5 minutes before I even like thought of like picking Rose or whatever. And I was going around and I was like, oh, like playing like the sweet old lady card. Like, was it you? And then like Sam, like friend turned foe. Like, would you do this to me or whatever? And then Hallie, I did like my bit with the hair or whatever, and I was like, oh, it must be hard, not being the person with the prettiest hair in the room. And so I was doing that because I was trying to be
mystery dinner. It was giving mystery dinner. Who did it?
Exactly. And I honestly kind of picked it up from Roland too, because Roland had done kind of like a similar bit when he got eliminated, and they cut basically all of it. And so
All
then
of
I
that,
was just
yeah.
like, all right, well, I'm gonna take a page from that and try to be silly and do like my own little thing.
Okay.
And then the reason I chose Ashley was because, I mean, again, like it was mostly a shot in the dark. I really wasn't sure, but I knew that at that point she was the smartest person in the room. I knew that she was very cutthroat and she was very cunning, and I knew that it like kind of would make sense for her to do that to me in order to like bring herself up. And I knew that it probably wasn't Mai, because again, like she had stuck out her neck for me twice. Like it probably wasn't Sam, because he was my homeboy. And then me and Hallie had also gotten like really close over the last few days. And so it kind of like, I don't know, it's just like something my gut was telling me, like I think it makes more sense for Ashley to be. But her, like I was pretty confident about Rose, but with Ashley, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. And when she came up, she was like, oh, like, you only picked me because like whatever, and like all this stuff. And I'm like, no, Ashley, I'm sorry. Like, it's not personal. Like, and that's why I said like, it's not personal. Like, whatever. And then she was like making like a whole fuss. And then like they say like player, whatever, eliminated. And then she looks at me, she goes, ah. And I'm just like, you did it. Like, and she was making me so nervous. I was like, oh my God, like maybe I really do have like personal biases that I need to re-examine.
Like, go home.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then she leaves. And I mean, it was tough. It was tough to watch her leave, but she put up a good fight. Yeah. And it was so funny too, because her and Rose both looked more guilty when they hadn't put it on that desk than when they actually did. Because like when they did, they were just like, oh, I'm calm. Like I'm not.
Yeah, because we have to act this out, right? That's their last ditch effort. Right.
Yeah. And then everybody else was kind of like shifty. And I was like, that's weird.
Yeah. But kudos to you, man, for doing it not once, but twice. I was
bugging. Like they don't really show it in the edit, but like when I was pointing, I was like, maybe you, like, but in the edit, I'm just like, yes, I know. Like I'm
more confident. I was the editing team. Like, and Sam was the only one that did not have to place a box, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
he got super lucky. He was cruising.
That's all over. That's the end of episode 9. They make us wait a whole nother week. And they're like, these are the top 3. So before we get to the finale of it all, you're the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
How was it to feel, or how was it feel? Wait, let me run that back. You're the top 3. Mm-hmm. How did it feel being a part of the top 3? 456 people.
Yeah. I mean, at no point did I ever realistically think I was going to make it this far. At every single game, I was like, you know what? This was fun, but if I go out, it's no problem. It's more likely anyway that I will. And then I just like kept not happening. And so to be so close and to actually have this money like within my grasp, I was like, oh my God, like I could actually do this. Like this could really change my life, and like change the lives of everyone around me and everybody I've always wanted to help, every community I've always wanted to help, like the environment and all that stuff. And all of a sudden it almost felt like a responsibility to like keep going, because for my passions and what I wanted to do with it. And so that's kind of how it felt. But at the same time, like the closer I got towards the end, I was like, and the worst thing that will happen is I will get to go home to my bed and eat good food. And so like it's a win-win, Yeah.
Win-win. So you go back into the doors. What was the interaction like between the 3 of you? Like, it's this big empty set now. What were you all doing?
I mean, it was weird because like at that point, like there was no one else to talk to except for the 3 of us. And like we had all gotten pretty close at that point. So we had already heard each other's stories. We had already heard like whatever, which is like even funny because like in the dinner scene, they like kind of prompted us a little bit. They were like, oh, like, just so we can get like a summary of like everyone's stories. And so that's why Mai like very inorganically just goes like, oh, Sam, so where are you from? Like fully knowing where he was from because we had known each other for weeks at this point. And so that was kind of silly. Yeah. But honestly, in the last few days, like the last day or whatever, like they pulled us for interviews like basically all day. Like we were busy the whole day. And also part of the reason why I had so much dandruff in my hair during the friggin' the Circle of Trust scene was because they didn't let me wash my hair for the last like 4 days that I was there because we were constantly doing things. We were constantly doing interviews, like doing like whatever, like all this stuff. And they're like, oh, like 5-minute showers only. And I'm like, girl, like it takes longer than that to properly clean this mane,
I need a second.
Exactly. And I never got it. I only washed my hair until after the last episode.
Woo! Hilarious. So it's top 3. You guys are doing the things, doing the interviews. And then the next time we see you guys suited and booted.
Yeah. That was pretty slay. I'm not going to lie. They got like our little measurements. They like, made us like the custom suits or whatever. And then we did like the photo shoot in the bathroom for some reson. Like of all the beautiful sets they spent so much money on. Yeah.
So that was like the whole scene. Everybody's like line up. It was a photo shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah. They took our pictures. We had a whole thing. And like, that was really fun too, because at that point, like we were obviously very tired. We were very exhausted from like the whole thing. We were kind of like a little bit down, like whatever. And that's honestly when the production team, like the PA specifically, like came in and started to like, cheer us up and like do little dances with us and like sing little songs, like take us outside to go look at the parking lot, like stuff like that. And so that was honestly what kind of got me through like the last few days. Like huge shout out to the Studio Lambert PA team.
Okay. Shout out to Lambert. Because again, you had been in there almost 2 weeks. You're not eating the best food. You're probably not sleeping great. You're still playing a game. And then $4 million are like on the line at the end of it. So you got to walk us through really quick, man. Like walking into the dinner scene, did you not know what was coming? Did you know?
I mean, we assumed that it was going to be the dinner because that's what had happened in the original show. We just like weren't really sure like how they were going to narrow it down to 2 people because we figured that would probably happen. Like whether they would give like we honestly thought that they were going to give us like paint pens or something like in the middle of the night and then just have us like try to stab each other or something.
Right.
We thought that we had. But honestly, for me, I was just so stoked for the steak because I knew there was going to be steak and I was like, this is going to be the most bomb steak I've ever had in my entire life, and it was.
I was about to ask, was it actually good? Was it warm?
Yeah, it was. And like Sam said it was atrocious and it was like the worst steak he's ever had. But me, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. Like this, I'm finally tasting salt after like so many weeks or whatever. And so like I literally was like eating so much. The guards would like come around and like try to take my plate and I'd be like, no, like I'm not done. Like literally it's like shoving food. And I felt sick after. I was like, oh, I'm so full.
So they gave you all steak. What else did they give you?
They gave us steak. They gave us like scallops with this like amazing sauce. It was so good. They gave us like a bunch of like little desserts, like a bunch of little like fruits, vegetables, and I was like, oh my god, like I feel properly nutrified for the first time in weeks.
Yeah, because you would have been having dry porridge, boiled chicken, so anything I imagine would have been great. Anything would have been great.
No, for real.
Okay, so really quick, let's run back for 2 seconds to marbles.
Oh my god, marbles! Yeah, I totally forgot about marbles.
Completely forgot about that. So I was like, there's something I'm forgetting to ask him. Marvel, did you know? So we'll touch on it really quick. Did you know going into marbles? Because everyone looking at the television was like, how did they not know? Did you know that was going to be marbles when you had that picnic?
I feel so stupid, honestly. I didn't know. And like the thing is, like I was to my friends, I was like, hey, like Rachel, Jackie, like you guys want to like pair together? And they I didn't see them anymore. They went to space. They were like, nope, absolutely not. Like we know what's coming, like whatever. And I was like, you guys relax. Like they said it was a treat. Like they said no tricks, like an idiot. And so then I ended up getting paired up with Brad, just because we were standing next to each other in line. We are like, oh, you got a partner? No, all right, cool. And like we had like talked at that point, so we like kind of knew each other. But the thing is, like Brad has been practicing all of these games for 6 months. And so I was like, oh, this is it. All right, this is fun.
Great. Check out his interview.
Yeah.
So you walk into the set because a lot of people have said the set for that was crazy.
It was the most beautiful set. It was so detailed. Like literally every square inch was like perfectly detailed. Like it was beautiful. I honestly felt like calm to be in there because like the sun was setting. Like that was real. Like that was like on the walls. Like like the projector of like the time or whatever like up and stuff. And so it was a beautiful set. And I honestly was really grateful to be there with Brad because he had a really good attitude about it. Like we both knew that it was going to end up like kind of being a 50-50 thing. And we would both be excited to see the other advance. And we were even like making a plan, like, oh, like whoever like dies, like we should like make it a whole, like just go like like smear like the squib stuff on the wall and be like like oh my god. And he did. And they cut all of it. All they did was just like they shot him like on the ground and that was it. And they cut his whole big moment. And I was so bummed because I was so excited to see that because I only heard it. They didn't let me watch. I only like heard it happening and I was like, this is gonna be so funny on TV.
Yeah. None of it showed. Yeah. He was like, I'm gonna smear the blood on the wall, I'm gonna fall down the wall, all of that. Now, what game did you guys play? How did you decide what game you were gonna play for?
So the thing is, I think like 90% of everybody there was too stupid to figure out how to actually play marbles. And so I think that's why most of us ended up doing like the pong toss or whatever. And so that's what Brad and I did. And the thing is, like, we dug a hole in the sand and we tossed our marbles in. I sunk the first one, and then neither of us made any more after that. So I literally won by that one first marble.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild. And do you have pretty good hand-eye coordination?
Like, I mean, yeah, I played a lot of pong in college. And I'm an athlete too. Like I have a gold medal. So in quad ball. So like that's what I was kind of yeah. So
he's a musician. He's an athlete. He's all of the things. He's top 2. All of the things. So that happens. How did you feel after you beat Brad? Were you like, ooh?
Yeah, I was shocked, honestly. I really didn't think I was gonna be walking out of that one. I don't think he did either. And so it was, and I was like very grateful to share the moment with him. But I was really sad because like he was like a really cool guy. He deserved it just as much. Like we had been talking, we had been vibing and stuff. And so again, like to see another friend leave was really tough. And then after Marbles 2 was when I lost Rachel, who was another like really close friend of mine. And she was like kind of like the core of our squad. Like she's the one that like brought us all together. And so losing her was really tough. And then all of a sudden it was just like from our original squad, it was just me and Jackie and kind of Sam, who we like kind of adopted into the squad.
Yeah. So top 3, we're eating dinner. The steaks are done. They lift the lid off the buttons.
Yeah. And like I feel so stupid because they said over the loudspeaker, they were like, "Hey, enjoy this meal. No worries, like no tricks. We're chilling." And I was like, "Okay, great." And so then I'm eating and I'm thinking like, "Oh, there must be like a fat turkey in there or something." But then the longer we were eating, the more I was like, "It's gonna."
That ain't no turkey.
Yeah.
No turkey. So we see the buttons. We see my volunteer to go first. Now I gotta ask you, Phil. They show the conversation between you and Sam going back and forth. And in my mind, I'm like, why would Sam volunteer to go? Like, I'm like, if I was Phil, I would do what you did. Like, if you want to go, go. Like, did it happen like that? Like, what was that whole conversation like?
Yeah, so they told us like we had to unanimously agree, which is why like at first I was like, hey, like, low key, like just put it out there. Does anybody want to go? Like, before we start like trying to figure out who needs to go, like, does anybody want to go? And then my volunteers, and she was like, I want to go. And I was like, all right, bet, you do your thing, girl. No worries. And it's funny because she stood up to go stand by the buttons, and I stood up with her. I stood up and I was like, no, like we're gonna do this together, like we're a family, like whatever. And then the producer was like, nope, you got to sit back down. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. No, exactly. And then she like picks the button, and then it's the neutral one or whatever. And then she sits back down. And then at this point, I know it's got to be either me or Sam. And I'm honestly like, I'm bugging. Like, I'm really scared. I don't want to do it because I know that there's a 50-50 chance that I'm going to die. And then like, I don't want to like, have come this far to do that. And then like low key in the moment too, like I knew like when it was like the three of us, I didn't really think about this until after, but I think instinctively I was like, well, if either of them gets the option to move forward and bring somebody with them, I think that both of them would probably choose me. And so I felt like pretty safe in that moment. So all I had to do was just keep doing what I had been doing, which is like not really get involved, like not really do anything too crazy. And honestly, Sam was really brave to take that shot. And I give him huge props because like that was a really brave decision. And I think that part of the reason why he did it was because he like didn't have to jump in glass bridge. He like never got chosen for Circle of Trust. And so I think that was him kind of just like taking the initiative and like trying to like, be like, okay, I'm not just going to skate through this. Meanwhile, I'm just like, I'm happy to skate through this. Like, I feel like I've done enough. You know what I mean?
I put my neck out there many of times. Yeah. Well, how noble is Sam? How noble?
Yeah, no, it really was. And the way that it worked out sucked. Like that really hurt. That really stung to see, especially. And in that moment, like I really did legitimately feel like a coward because like, oh, like it could have been me, like maybe it should have been me. Like, I don't know. And so that really was tough, which is why you see like after he leaves or whatever, and then the camera pans to me, like my hair is a mess because I had been like crying and I was just like all this like, yeah, no, exactly, because I was just a mess. But at that point, I was like, all right, we're in it. Let's get this over with. Let's have some fun. And like the worst thing that could happen is I get to go home to my bed tomorrow.
Yeah,
so.
eat some good food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what button would you have picked had you gone?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have gone in with a plan. I probably would have just been like, oh, this one. Yeah. I think the square looked the most inviting because it was the biggest and the juiciest. But I don't know. I at that point, my mind was somewhere else.
Gotcha. So now it's top 2. That all happens. Before we're going into the final game, what was the conversations and relationships like with you and Mai?
I honestly felt good to be going into the finals with her because at that point, like we had gotten to know each other pretty well. I had really heard her story. I really connected with her story. And I knew that no matter what, whoever won, we were going to do right by the money. We would, donate most of it. We would, not use it for anything stupid. Like, we would, give it back to the people, give it back to the communities, give it back to the environment, stuff like that. And so that was almost a relief in a way because I knew that no matter what, the money would be going to a good place.
Yeah. What was the money?
What would I have done with the money? I don't think I would have kept most of it. I really think I would have given most of it away. I feel like personally, like I've been helped a lot, and I talked about this a lot during the show, but like I feel like I've been helped a lot by friends, family, the communities, the Brazilian community, the Hawaiian community. things like that. And I've never really been able to reciprocate, just because I've always been working like minimum wage, like low wage jobs. And so that to me represented like an opportunity to finally, be able to give back, and to do things that I'm passionate about, like the environment, giving back. Like there's so many issues. There's so many people that need this money so much more than I do. And I really wanted to have the opportunity to share that. And then on a personal note too, like I always have wanted to pursue a career as a musician. Like that's always been my dream. That's always been like what I feel like I was born to do. Like I really feel like I was born to be two things. I was born to be a good friend, and I was born to be a performer. And so that to me represented like the opportunity to do something like that. And so I was really excited for that too. But at the end of the day, like I knew no matter what happened, like the money was going to go to a good place. And that, I obviously like feel super blessed to even have made it this far. Like I never thought I was going to make it this far. And so even to make it to that point was already like, a amazing opportunity for me.
Mike, you're such a good guy, Phil. My gosh.
I feel like it is.
So you walk into the final game, right? You walk into the final game. I know because I was there. That was like the same set as Dalgana.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you walk in, but they changed it a little bit. Now the Squid Game, was that actually there, or was that like in lights?
No, that was there. That was like a real thing.
Okay, so we see the Squid Game. Did you know what the original Squid Game was?
Yeah, I mean, I had seen the original show, so like I like going in, I was thinking like, oh, like how are they going to do this? Because there's no way they can safely pit me and Mai against each other in a physical battle and have one of us walk away unhurt. You know what I mean? Like there's just no way that they could do that safely. So I was like racking my brain trying to figure out like what they could possibly do. And the last thing I ever would have guessed was rock, paper, friggin' scissors.
I was like, wait, what?
Me too. And they cut this too. But the second I walked in, they were like, the last game is rock, paper, scissors. I was like, are y'all kidding me? Is this a joke? Like, this is the silliest thing I ever seen. All that Netflix money, and you couldn't think of anything better than rock, paper, scissors. Like, are you joking? And then they cut all of it, and they just like me looking like really stern. They're like,
I'm glad you said that because I was thinking it. I was like, okay, that's okay. We're doing it. We're here. We're doing it. So you all line up. We see you play. How long did you guys play red light, green light? I mean, not. Oh my God, red light, green light. Scissors.
So I mean, we were there for hours. I want to say I think we played something like 33 rounds of rock, paper, scissors.
Really?
Yeah, and there were like 40 something keys in the chest, and we went through most of the keys.
Really?
Yeah.
So you start playing rock, paper, scissors, a childhood favorite. Did you have, because clearly we hear Mai have strategy. She's like, men pick these numbers or whatnot. Did you have any strategy, or were you just like, I'm randomly throwing them out there?
No, I didn't know that there was strategy until I watched the premiere, like with everyone of the finale. I was like, Mai, this whole time, like making me look like an idiot out there. No, for real. And like I was like sweating too, because I was like, how is this woman beating me so many times? Because like we played like 33 whatever rounds, and she beat me in most of them. Like she whooped my butt. And so in my mind, I'm like, how is she doing this? Like she must be the luckiest lady in the world. Like, because that's really, I was just throwing them out at random. Like, I don't know,
He's killing it. Yeah. Okay.
For real.
Wow. Yeah. So it gets down to the final keys. She gets one. She go. What was the feeling every time you would walk up to the safe with a key?
I mean, I was terrified. I was like standing there for like a minute, like jingling it, like, oh, this has to be the one. This has to be the one. And honestly, I was going off of Raiders of the Lost Ark logic. I don't know if you've seen the Indiana Jones movie where at the end they have to pick like the chalice of youth or whatever. And then the villain goes in and he picks like the most extravagant one. He drinks it and then he like gets deleted. And then Indiana Jones goes in, he picks like the simplest, like cutest, like simplest little one, drinks it. And then that's like the right one. So I was going off of that logic. And so I was picking like the most basic keys, like the ones with like little shapes. Cause like, oh, like it's gotta be
all the keys look different.
Yeah. No, they were all different. They all had different designs. Like some of them had like little triangles, like circles, like clouds, like stuff like that. And so those were the ones I was going for. And the worst thing is that I saw the key that she picked in there because it was a very regal looking key. Like it wasn't super extravagant, but it was very like elegant. It was like a nice looking one. And I saw it in there and I was like, yeah, it's probably not that one. And I went and picked other ones. So to see her pick that one, that moment lives rent free in my brain every single day. I've been thinking about it every single day for the last 10 months.
How you saw the $4.5 million key.
Yep. And then chose not to pick it. And it's so funny because that was the only time I ever went into a game with strategy. Like, and I ended up eating it. Yeah, so it just goes to show, just wing it, no need for strategy.
Throw it out the window. Hold
Yeah.
up. So she puts it in,
Mhm.
da 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 da. It opens up. She wins. What is that moment like for you?
So what actually happened in real life was she like jingled it a little bit and like it clicked, but like she didn't turn it the whole way. And so then they had to like stop production. Like they came in, like they like, checked that it was like the right key. But like in that moment, like I knew that it was the right one and I had kind of accepted it. And so I kind of just knelt down and just kind
Oh,
of
you're
like
sitting there for it
yeah,
wasn't
like a few minutes. Yeah. Yeah. A few minutes of them like coming in and like checking and stuff. And so I just like took that moment to just like, breathe. Or I don't think I realized like what had actually happened, but in my mind, like I knew, like I was confident. I was like, okay, you know what? That was it.
yeah,
It's over. Like
yeah.
it's all good. So I did have a few minutes to like kind of breathe or whatever. And then they like went back and then they started rolling and then they had her like open the thing and be like, oh my God. And then in that moment, like I legitimately was happy for her because seeing like how excited she was, like how like overcome with emotion, like to me, like it
Mm,
really felt genuine and it really felt like a victory for her. And I honestly was just excited to be a part of it.
yeah.
Obviously super bummed that, I didn't get it. But in that moment, like I knew obviously like going into it, I knew that it was going to be one of us. I knew that there was a chance I was going to lose. Like I was okay with that. And that was just like the name of the game. And honestly, just seeing how excited she was, like it really felt very sweet. And I was just excited for her, honestly. And I really think that she earned it, especially in that last game. Like she earned it.
Congratulations on first off just going through this whole going as far as you possibly could, like without winning.
Yeah.
The game is over. How was it going back home and like readjusting into everyday life?
I mean, it was very surreal because like we, weren't allowed to talk to each other. We weren't allowed to talk about the game to anyone else. And so to me, it almost felt like a dream. Like it was like this crazy thing that I went through.
Yeah.
And I was a little pissed because I had already told all of my friends that I was going to be on the show before I got casted because I was like, oh, it's not going to be real. Like I'm just going to go and get out in one game or whatever and then come back and it's not going to matter. And then I came back and then they had to sign like extra spicy NDAs or whatever for like
Sure. For you guys, I'm sure. Yeah.
yeah. And so I was like, oh my God, like I really shouldn't have said anything, like all this stuff. And so they were like, asking me, like, oh, how was Squid Game? And I was like, oh, what? I'm like, no, that wasn't me. That was somebody else.
I have
And
a twin.
yeah, and so I had to have to keep that secret. And honestly, like it took a really long time for me to like process like what had happened, especially like losing like so, in that way.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I legitimately, I almost, so they like had me on like suicide watch for like the first like 24, 48 hours, like after I got out of the game just to make sure I like wouldn't do anything crazy because like anyone else, I can easily understand like why that would like totally mess something up. And in a way, like thinking about it now, like I'm almost kind of grateful that it did happen to me because I know that I am like strong enough to be able to handle that kind of like loss and still be able to power through and still be able to kind of like lead like a good life because I could easily see how that could like totally ruin somebody's life and like totally like mess up their whole mental health and stuff. And
Yeah.
my mental health is something I've been working on for a really long time. Like I had already had a therapist before all this. Now I have two. Because one of them is Netflix sponsored. And yeah, exactly. And so I'm almost like grateful that like it's that I'm the one to bear that burden because I know that I like can bear that burden without having it like kind of ruin my life and try to turn it into a positive thing. But for a while, like it was tough. Like I almost had a full blown panic attack on the plane ride home because they like sat me in like a seat like in between two people. I was already super uncomfortable. It was like a 10-hour flight from London to LA, and another 6-hour flight to Hawaii. And so I was bugging, But when I got back, my partner had been waiting for me because we had already booked a trip for them to come and visit me in Hawaii. And then we never changed it because I was like, oh, I'll probably be gone a week tops, like no big deal or whatever. And so they had been waiting for me for like a week and a half in my apartment. And so I was just really excited to come home to that. I was really excited, get to explore the island. It took a couple of days off. I didn't actually tell anybody I was back until like a few days after I got back, just to relax and just kind of take it in, like not be like bombarded with like work or like anything like that. And so that's just kind of like slowly processed. And then like coming out of the game, I knew that even though I didn't win, being on a game of this caliber, of this magnitude, like meant something. And I really wanted to make the most of the opportunity. So I wrapped up work. I worked for like one more month in Hawaii. I cleaned my last few pools. I did my last few scuba classes, and then I moved back to Jersey, where I am now in my parents' basement, because I knew that at least here, like I wouldn't have to worry about paying rent. I could like work a little bit less and like focus on like doing the music stuff a little bit more. And that's honestly just what I've been up to for the past 10 months is just trying to make the most of this moment. And it's working, which is like crazy. It is like one of the only plans I've ever had that actually is like doing all right. So
and it's your passion, man. And I really believe that what's meant for us is meant for us. So like I said, maybe you didn't win the $4 million, but it sounds like you won in a lot of other ways.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I really do feel super blessed to have been part of the experience, getting to connect with so many people and like having like for the first time in my life, I really feel like I'm pursuing like my genuine passion, my passion that I've had ever since I was a little kid, like the thing I've always wanted to do. And the fact that it's like working and like going like really well like, at the beginning and stuff, like it means so much to me. Like this really feels like, and then watching the premiere the other night too, like it really felt like the closing of one like really big chapter and the opening of like a totally awesome new one that I'm so excited for.
I'm excited for you all because you took the time to fill out a 1-minute video. And
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I was like stoned too when I was doing it. I was like, oh, it'd be funny.
I love you, Phill. Phill, what is, last question for you, biggest lessons you learned through this experience?
Well, for me personally, like it was, how much I'm able to endure, how strong I am, how much I'm willing to like kind of like stomach and power through in order to do the things that I think are important. It also taught me a lot about like friendship and just like being able to connect with people and hearing each other's stories and stuff and being able to carry that through too. Like that, I mean, I made lifelong friends in the game and I'm so excited to get to spend more time with them outside of it now that we can finally legally talk to each other. And I'm just so stoked about that. And it taught me honestly, like getting so close to the 4.56 million and like thinking about like, oh, like I could do this with the money, I could do this. And then like coming out and thinking like, I don't really need that money to do that. Like even like with the music stuff, like I don't need millions of dollars in order to write a song and to record it and put it out and kind of see what happens. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now. So it sort of inspired me to, take a stab at it, jump into it and kind of see what happens, which is what I've been up to.
I love it, Phill. Phill, tell everybody about the music really quick. Where can they find the music? You just dropped a single.
Yeah. So my band is called 6 Ways to Saturday. You can check us out on TikTok, Instagram, the whole thing. We did just drop a single last week. It's called Fantasy, and I hope you guys like it. We got a couple more on the way, and I'm really excited about it.
I love Fantasy, by the way. It definitely, I have it. I've been playing it. Like it's a vibe. It's a hit, Phill.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good one. I'm excited.
Phill, thank you so much for coming on JustinTIME for Storytime. We're friends. We just became best friends.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is such an honor.
It is. Well, until next time, guys, is anything else you want to say, Phill? Any last words?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I know a lot of people are gonna maybe try out for season 2, and my advice is just, have fun with it, be silly, be goofy, be yourself, and just have a good time. And if anybody's in the area and wants to try out a new alternative sport, quad ball is a super fun, interesting, gender inclusive, full contact sport, and it's a lot of fun. And it's how I've made most of my friends throughout my life and made me the person I am today. So definitely check it out if you're looking to do anything new.
Quad ball. I love it, Phill. Ladies and gentlemen, Phill Kane, player 451, JustinTIME for Storytime. Like, click, subscribe, guys. All the things. Check out everyone else's episode. And until next time, you're JustinTIME for Storytime.
Thank you. Love you.